talk about the use of reason and logic on the Buddhist path and its limitations. Do we have to abandon reason and logic when we enter Tantra?
Please don't abandon. Because you are using the reason and the logic, right? The Buddhist path is based on reasoning and rational thinking. Don't abandon it. So reason and the logic are highly valued on the path, especially in the early stages, as they help develop clear discernment and strengthen our understanding of our core insight, teachings, right? So it's so important. Don't give up or have a false idea about reason and logic obstacle on this path, especially in early stages. Eventually, reason and logic will abandon you, but you don't abandon. You know that Nalanda tradition, which His Holiness often talk about. There was a big university back all days in India. One of the first university in India called Nalanda tradition. Naropa studied and there, and the Saraha studies there. That tradition is very important. His Holiness encouraged us to follow that tradition, and has greatly emphasized studying and understanding Buddhist philosophies. So talking about the philosophy in Tibetan tradition, for example, reasoning to study Madhyamika philosophy, the middle way philosophy, examining the nature of reality through rigorous analysis to realize emptiness and interdependence. Without reason and logic, we cannot do that. So this process defines the discernment and protects us from blind faith. So important. We don't want to follow the just blind faith, which Buddhism generally discourages. Reason and logic become an essential tool for understanding the relative and ultimate truth of existence, helping to uproot our misconceptions and reduce mental obscurations. In other words, we want to get rid of suffering, right? We want to overcome the suffering. All these philosophers were the yogis, meditators. That might be different in the West. Or the philosopher is just thinking for the sake of philosophy. But here in this tradition, logic and reasons are used for liberating from suffering or from samsara, oneself and others. We need to know that part. However, there are limits, of course, to reason and logic because it's a conceptual. Conceptual means coarse mind. Essentially, as we enter the more experiential path of Vajrayana and Tantra, which deals with the subtle mind. Tantra engages the practitioner in non-conceptual practices and methods that go beyond the intellect to transform ordinary perceptions into sacred visions, right? So that involves the visualization, which you do, or the imagine. And the mantra, you don't need a concept or reason to practice mantra. So visualization, mantra, and the deep meditative absorption, non-conceptual absorption, that are not subject to logical analysis and often appear illogical, non-logical, illogical by conventional standards. In Tantra, reason and logic are seen as a framework. You can say framework we transcend to engage in direct experience and insight. While we don't abandon logic entirely, we let go of its constraints when entering practices designed to dissolve the ordinary conceptual mind. Here, reason has served its purpose. If we go step by step, reasons are actually necessarily a tool to serve the purpose in building a foundation, but further progress comes from surrendering to the transformational power of the practice rather than analyzing them. As I said, you don't need to abandon reasoning, don't worry. But reasoning abandons you eventually as you advance on this path. So in short, reason and logic are variable guides, but they are not the destination, final goal. as we move deeper into Tantra, they become tools to support the journey rather than lead it. The mind that holds onto logic alone struggles to access the subtle insights that arise in meditation and tantric practice. They demand openness, devotion, and trust in the power of direct experiential knowledge. Something like that. You got the kind of point. This is a kind of perspective from the Buddhist Sutra Tantra perspective.
What you said there for me that was just so important is reason eventually abandons you. I've never heard that before. I think it's very accurate. Like you sort of you do get to a stage I think where there is a surrender to it as well.
Yeah,
With,
purposely I say that in the West because I know some tendencies. Again, this comes with maybe black and white kind of approach. Okay, reasons or conceptual mind is bad. That's not what we are getting at. So from the beginning, they just abandon and try to abandon and just resting in the open awareness. Okay, this is the final goal. So I just gonna do the Dzogchen, for example, without any preparation. Okay, open awareness. Nothing gonna happen. Good luck with that. Nothing gonna happen. No integrations. We have to go step by step like this. We want to make use of whatever we have right now. We have this logical mind, right? That's what ancient master did, philosopher, yogis did. Using this mind to cut through this mind, conceptual mind, like all the great master Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, all did that, using that tool called language, for example, and conceptual mind to cut through the conceptual mind. Why don't we use that tool each of us has? Especially in the West, we are very sharp compared to I'm not putting down, but nomad up in the Himalaya or something like that. What's your relationship to conceptual mind or the logic? Is that annoying for you? Too much conceptual mind, so I just want to relax it. That's also
yeah.
important. Yeah.
Uh,
Inquiry itself, you need a logic, right? Language, using a language, and have to have a discernment, like a
yeah.
thinking mind,
Yeah.
When it comes to the madhyamika, like this piercing through this reality, you
Mm.
need to actually, that's a kind of main point. Everything is related. Everything is interdependent,
Mm.
the dependent arising. Therefore, things do not exist independently or inherently. So that's kind of drawing a line. That's logic. You have to have that logic. Then really you can convince. That's one way to approach, scrutinize the reality through logic. And also everything empty of any inherent existence. Therefore, everything is related. Everything works. Karma
Hmm.
works.